Hi, Martin again for Let's Talk About Wood. And today I'm going to show you how to do some inlays in cutting board using Carbide Create. So my goal today is to explain to you what was my experiment that I did with Carbide Create in order to find the right parameters in order to insert an image in a cutting board.
Here is the first step that I did, and the result was absolutely not what I was expected. In fact, the picture was too big because that I check a parameter that I should not have checked first. And here's the result. As you can see, it's quite big letters, and when it's going to be completed, we won't be able to read it correctly. So the first part was the female part, and now it's going to be the male, or you can call that the inlay. And here's where I'm manufacturing it, and it's first with the big bits, and then I will go through with a smaller bit, a V-groove bit, a 60-degree V-groove, where it's going to finalize the graphic more cleaner with all the small details that a big bits is not able to provide. The final result is the inlay, but inside like a box. So we have to remove that box. We have to remove all the parts around it in order to have the part where it's going to be glued to the female part. And this is where we use Tide Bond 3. We absolutely need waterproof or food safe glue, and we put it everywhere. And make sure that you really put it everywhere, because the piece will be very small. It could disappear from your end result. So make sure you have glue everywhere. You put the inlay into it, and then in order to make it dry correctly, we need to put pressure. Using 3 clamp for that, but you will see later I have absolutely a new method that is absolutely more efficient. You'll see that in a couple of minutes. The exceeding of the wood has to be removed. We can use the bandsaw. It's going to go fast. There is other techniques that I will again show later. But if this works, go with it. Last step is to sand everything. So I'm using my big sander over here in order to look at the result. At this point, I didn't like the result. As I said before, it's unreadable. So now let's look at it when we do it in Carbide Create. The first step will be to import your image. Normally, try to go with a vectorized image, or otherwise you will have to trace it and vectorize it yourself. I put it in the middle where I want to work about it, and then it's the toolpath. The toolpath would be an advanced V-carve. First step is to enable the pocket tool, and I'm going to use over here a 1/8 that is going to clean up as much as it can, and then I will select the V bit for the second step. It's going to be a 60-degree, like same thing as before, and I will not change any of the parameters. I go with the basic one. You can adjust yourself on your machine, no problem at all. Next step, make sure that you specify the max depth that you want to go. For me, it's going to be 5 millimeters. And then I will put a good toolpath name, because when you create something big with a lot of toolpath, it's going to be a lot easier to find yourself if you have an intelligent name, significative name. Let's look at the simulation. The simulation is really an important step, because this is where you're going to figure out if there is a mistake, a problem with what you are doing, if you have enough detail or not. Now the machine is creating the ores inside of the cutting board. This is where the pleasure starts a lot, because I'm able to see what I am building. Look at that result. Very nice and clean. It could stay like that, but it will not. Next step, let's do the male part. Okay. For that part, it's really important that you use exactly the same image that you add on the female side. Don't re-import it. No, 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 because if you change something, you will not have it. So make sure that you start with the same image as you had before. Then before doing and creating the end result, the toolpath, we need, first of all, remove the previous toolpath. Okay, we are clean. I'm going to draw a rectangle around my image in order to clean up around the image in order to facilitate the gluing. You saw that before. You could also have used an offset if you want to, but I like the rectangle. It's simple, it's fast. I will center my image in the rectangle, but now that I know the size of my rectangle, why would I take a bigger piece of wood, scrap wood, in order to scrap it? So let's change the setting of my main board and make sure that I'm not going to use more wood than I need. So now I'm centering my image inside that piece, inside in the middle of that piece, and it's great. Okay, next step, flip the image, because in order to make it go into the female part, you need to flip it. Don't forget that you will have a little bit of problem if you don't do it. Then advanced V-carve, same thing as before. And I'm going again, enable the pocket tool, but I will not use the 1/8 because I know I did my testing and it's too long. I will use a 1/4, a 1/4 of an inch, and it's going to clean up around it a lot faster than a 1/8. I'm going to save a lot of time over here. And I'm going to use my my settings that I'm used to it. Let's remove 3 millimeter at a time. Other than that, the V tool is exactly the same. Again, the depth is 5, but you have to click the inlay mode. This is where the magic happens, and that the software will know what it has to do in order to create the male part about it. It's reversing the image, the work. Again, put a good name, that's normal. Let's look at the simulation, and really important over here, you can open 2 Carbide Create session at the same time and visually compare your image, your male and your female, to see if there is, do I have all the details, is there any problem? It's easy to figure that out. Let's look at it, creating it, but no, you're not dreaming. This is not the horse, it's another image. I did not add any, didn't have any video on the horse being created as a male. So this is another piece. Same thing, you'll see that later. Oh, the horse is back. So let's cut around it like I did before. You don't have to follow the perfect rectangle, but make sure that you don't touch your horse and you do a clean cut. Before that, I will improve the clamping technique, and this is how I did it. I bought a Vevor hydraulic press. It's cheap, it's 175 Canadian dollars, and this is putting 6 tons of pressure, really good pressure. So if you're interested, the link are in the description, by the way. This way of working, when I'm putting the pressure to my wood, I feel when it's going into it. But again, you can see that it's not the horse, it's again another sign. So the V-carve technique is a very good one when you have an image with a lot of small details, like the horse when it's pointing, and in comparison of the other design that is, I would say, a little bit square. So the V-carve is perfect for that, and it's going to put all the details that you want to see. But there is also a drawback about it. In the future, the more you will sand the cutting board, the more the image could disappear. So there is another technique that we are going to use with an end mill, and we are going to be able to put the inlay really 5 millimeter deep. So let's remove the horse and let's work on that image. That step is quite easy because it's something that you probably already do in your other project. It's a toolpath, it's a pocket toolpath, and we do it in 2 steps. I'm using the Carbide Create Pro, so I have rest machining available. First step, I will do it with the 1/8, and it's going to remove my 5 millimeter where it can go and remove it. So this is where I called it grow. It's in French, and it's remove the most stuff, stock that you can. The second step, the finalized one, is going to be done with a 1/16 of an inch, so smaller bit, hand mill again. But I'm going to activate the rest machining. So it's going to go everywhere that the previous diameter of the tool that was used is going to go into refining those details. This is rest machining. So let's look at the simulation, and when you will look at it, we see that it went everywhere. You can check how it goes before you do the rest machining, and you will see what's coming up with that small step. Let's look at the machine doing it. That's the Canadian Hockey Club sign. Now we have to create that male part. And this is where it's a little bit complicated over here. The toolpath is easy, but we absolutely need to modify the image first. So, like the other time, let's flip it. Next, we are going to create the rectangle around it, like exactly the same thing as before. So, figure out what is the right size for your image. Then your job setups should be adjusted for, again, that same size. And we are going to center everything, but I forgot to join all the vectors together. So first, let's join the vector, and then you can center to your stock. And now, okay, the image is in the middle. Now we have to modify that image. Why? Because it's too big. If you try to just do the opposite of the female with the male, it will not fit inside of your female part. So now we have to adjust all the vectors one by one. And see, I did 4 times the exercise in order to figure out how to resize it or how to adjust it. And I was wrong until I figured out that it was absolutely an offset that I need. You have to identify all the vectors that will impact the sizing of your male part. So let's select one by one the vector. This one, I will create an offset that will be inside, in order to make it smaller, by 0.05 millimeter. You can adjust depending, this is what is working for me. So, and as you can see, I'm creating another vector next to the other one. Let's delete the bigger one. And for the other side of the piece of wood, I will do exactly the same thing, but instead of an inside, it will be an outside. And it's going to create a vector just outside of it. So it's going to make also my wood piece a little bit smaller. And again, I remove the one I don't need. For the rest of my picture, I also have to do the same thing. So I'm those 4 that I just clicked that I will select. The 4 of them will have to be bigger, so outside. And I will also do the other one around it in order to make it a little bit smaller. One by one, I will do an inside. So here I'm zooming, and I will be able to remove the one that I don't need. But I will skip you all the details over here. I also, like I said, have to change those one and make it a little bit smaller to fit with the graphic by itself. For the toolpath, like I said, it's an easy one. So you do again a pocket, and you have a bigger one. I'm using a 1/4 over here, and I will remove the most stock that I can, my 5 millimeter, same stuff. And for the final one, with the more detail, it was going to be 1/16 of an inch, same depth. But again, rest machining and saying that I've used 1/4 of an inch before. It's 6.35 in millimeters. Let's look at the result, and I can see that there's a small glitch. And if you have an idea why, please write to me in the description, because I was not able to figure it out. I had to create another piece of wood in order to finalize my cutting board, because that small part is not there. Let's look at the machine doing its job of cutting that 4th piece, because like I said, I needed 4 trial in order to succeed. Same thing about the glue as before. Make sure that you have enough glue in order to make sure that all the small pieces are going to stay in their places. And again, using the same press, doing exactly the same thing. I'm going to put the pressure. Don't worry about the glue. Whatever is too much is going to be pushed out. The pressure is extreme over here. You could have used a small pocket at the end, at the bottom, but not me. Here I'm removing, or how can I say, planning my board. I did a video about that 2 weeks ago. You can see the link in the corner. And this is where I'm removing the excess of the wood. I'm not using the bandsaw this time. I'm just making the CNC do the work for me. It's cleaning up whatever is too much over my image. Last step will be to sand that with my drum sander. And as you can see, I have clean result. For the Canadian logo, I did it with a V-carve and also with end mill. But the result is almost the same on both tryout. Here is the result, the final result. But this is a cutting board for test. Okay, I'm not going to sell this one, but this is the result of my testing.
So now that you follow me on my experiment, you know the parameters that I'm going to use in the future. I will probably create other video on end grain cutting board with image into it, and you will be able to find also those results. Until then, I hope you appreciated my video. Thank you.